U.S. History B, Virtual Interactive Notebook 3, the Cold War, Day 6, McCarthyism. Today's essential question is, how did Joseph McCarthy use the threat of communism to gather personal power? The main idea is McCarthyism. The subtopics are not applicable because you are going to, once more, come up with your own notes. Just very briefly, Joseph McCarthy was a senator who would call people in front of Senate committees and ask them to name names. He would ask them, are you now or have you ever been a member of the American Communist Party? And if people refused to answer, he would put them in jail or he would blacklist them, which meant that he would put them on a list and community leaders wouldn't hire them for jobs or things like that. And this was particularly apparent in Hollywood. So he called in stars and producers and directors and he asked them to name names. And some conservative Hollywood people were very happy to do that, including John Wayne and Ronald Reagan. They actually testified. Were there communist spies in the American government? Absolutely. That often gets left out. It's not like there wasn't the threat of communist spies. They existed, but they existed in fairly small numbers as far as anybody can tell. The other thing is, it's not illegal to be a communist. There's an American Communist Party today. It seems to be spectacularly unpopular, but on the other hand, we're seeing the rise of socialism with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders. And socialism and communism sort of seek the same thing, which in their purest form is the people own the means of production through the government. So that would mean that the American government owns all the factories, all the restaurants, and we all work for the government. So the problem so far with that kind of socialism has been that it gets corrupted almost immediately. It is very difficult to find a purely socialist or communist country where the people in charge of the country don't have way more than everybody else. And also they tend to be very poor. And they're so unpopular in most cases that they've fallen. Now you might say, well, look, Chinese communism is still there. It's not. The Chinese now have rich people that own factories. The state still owns significant portions of industry. You'll find public healthcare over there. Is it great healthcare? No, not really. But they do allow private enterprise. So does Vietnam. So it's not pure communism. Now, you will find pure communism in North Korea. Okay, well, how's that going? North Koreans are smaller than South Koreans because of famine. People, especially people from my generation, they went through a horrible famine. Will communism work eventually? It might, especially as technology advances. Who knows? But anyway, the point is it's not illegal to be a communist, but it was very unpopular in the 1950s. And communism is still unpopular now, which is why democratic socialists don't like to be called communists. Democratic socialism is sort of communism except voting. Communism originally stipulates that you'll never get to equality until the people overthrow the rich with violence, essentially. Modern democratic socialists want to vote in government owning the means of production. And in theory, that means that you could also vote it out if you didn't like it. See about that. All right. So McCarthyism, you're going to watch a video. I've included the video link in Set Up Your Notes. Today's output is draw a cartoon which illustrates McCarthyism. Get creative with it. So McCarthyism is essentially using the fear of something to gather personal power. You don't have to limit this to the 1950s. If you see McCarthyism in some other era of history, including the modern era, you can try that. That might be interesting. So, for example, like the Salem witch trials, that's where we get our term witch hunt, and McCarthyism is essentially a witch hunt. So you could do that. And that's what we're going to do today. I will see you tomorrow for day 7. Thank you.